Thank y'all so much for coming out tonight. We have a seminar tonight from Jill. I've known Jill for a little while. She's a registered dietitian out here in Katy and as well as in Houston. She's dealt with a lot of different people with weight loss issues and really helped a lot of people out. So we're really excited to have her come speak and to share some information for everyone. We're going to try to record this and give it for Jill and maybe if she lets us, let everybody kind of access to it later on in case you missed something. And we're going to try to also get some documentation from her, like PowerPoints, so that if you want to go back later on and read some of the things, if you missed something, you can actually access that. So without further ado, I guess, have Jill come speak about Revving for Metabolism, and everyone enjoy it. So thank you for coming.
Thanks. All right. I got an email from Jason about questions y'all had, or responses to a question about things that you wanted to have answers about. So I don't want this to just be about this. If you have questions or have specific things that you want answered or to talk about, feel free to interrupt me during this. But I find this is a pretty good topic for most people because that's what I get heard or asked a lot is how do I get my metabolism up because I'm struggling with weight or whatnot. So I thought we could start with this, but it kind of encompasses the whole aspect of healthy eating, which is what I try to represent. So we'll start from there. Okay. So what's metabolism? Do y'all know what that word is? I'm interactive. I've got to talk to y'all. What does that mean? Can you read that? Calories. How many calories your body burns. That's what metabolism is. It's a very chemistry type of term. These are the three aspects that make up our metabolism. Okay, have y'all heard of resting metabolic rate? Okay, some people call it basal metabolic rate. Basal metabolic rate or resting metabolic rate is very individual for each person. We have ways to kind of calculate this number, but in reality, that number, those calculations don't take into account how much muscle mass you have or your own genetic predisposition. So, we do have some great formulas that have some good averages, but in reality, we don't always know exactly what this number is. So that's the big one. The other one is growth and repair. My son is very tall. He eats a lot of calories. He's 13. Guess what he's doing right now? He's growing. He's getting taller. So these kids, I have parents that come in and say, my kids eat more than me and they're as tall as me. I'm like, well, they're growing. So that's why they need to eat more than you. So growth and repair, if you're ill, I know in the hospital setting when I worked there, we have to add a little bit more calories when someone has a fever, if they're in the ICU, just because the fever in itself and the body's infection causes you to burn more calories. So that's a big aspect as well. Activity, obviously, that's a big one. How many calories do you think walking burns per mile? How many calories do you burn? Not enough. What's your estimate? 300.
It's like 100.
100, it's not much. So exercise doesn't burn as much as we think it does. And, in order to really make it worthwhile, you have to do a whole lot, not worthwhile, that's a bad word, but to make it to where you think you're burning a lot, you'd have to do a whole lot of exercise. It's very, very important for you, but sometimes it gets overestimated, especially I have runners that want to start running marathons and they come to me and they're like, I'm gaining weight, but I'm running. And, they're frustrated. So it's like, well, you're eating too much. So, they kind of give themselves permission to eat a lot more just because they're running or exercising. So just to kind of be aware of that. And then, gosh, is that kind of blurry? I don't know how to, can y'all read it okay? Okay. Sorry. It's not quite there. Eating in itself causes you to burn calories. So if you're eating one meal a day or that type of thing, it's going to cause your metabolic rate to change a little bit. Have y'all heard of NEAT before? What is it?
NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis.
All right. What does that big word mean? It's twitching, moving, kind of. That's that involuntary stuff that you might do. That studies are showing that actually can burn 100, 200 calories a day just from getting up. And we're finding that those that are becoming overweight or gaining weight tend to be a lot less active and have a lot less movement than those that are thinner. So taking the stairs and those types of things can kind of increase that non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So those are kind of the aspects of metabolism. Any questions about that? Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the definition of it. So I want to read it because you've got to understand that metabolism it's very important for you, that burning these calories and burning this energy. So I'm going to read it. I know you can read. Your metabolism is the process of breaking down proteins, carbohydrates, and fats to yield the energy your body needs to maintain itself. The rate of your metabolism depends on the interaction between the number of calories you consume, the number of calories you burn while eating and exercise, and the calories you burn based on your individual genetic makeup. So does that kind of give you a good picture? Okay. Sorry, I do not have handouts. Okay. Resting metabolic rate. I want to go in a little more detail with this. This is your involuntary energy need to sustain life. Okay? If you begin to try to get on a weight management program, and I'll mention one, the HCG diet, okay? Eating 500 calories a day, how do you feel, how are you going to sustain life in reality? I mean, your body is miraculous at will, but it's going to impact you greatly. What is it about your resting metabolic rate that causes us to use so much energy? This is the number one aspect of metabolism that burns the most calories. So what is it that burns so much calories? Huh? No. Exactly, sustaining life, your organs. 70% of your resting metabolic rate is devoted to your organs, your brain, your muscles, all those aspects within you, not as much your muscles, but your organs. So if you get too low, your body's going to try to deal with that by, I work with individuals that eat too little sometimes, and their heart rate begins to lower, their blood pressure begins to lower. So you begin to see some issues long term with too low calories. Okay. All right, activity. Two aspects of that. Cardio and weight training. I think cardio gets overemphasized, and I'm not an exercise expert, but I believe highly in the exercise aspects of this. That's how I know Jason. I refer a lot of clients here because all they want to do is exercise cardio-wise and not do any weight training. Weight training in itself does help the aging process. So we find that those that really get 2 to 3 times a week of at least 15-20 minutes of weight training actually can help decrease your aging process. As we get older, we tend to have more fat than we do muscle, so can kind of change your whole genetic, your makeup of your body as you get older. And then, of course, we talked about meat. Okay. So these are the very minimal exercise recommendations put out by our, some agencies. But 1,500 to 200 minutes per week. It's not a whole lot, so that's really minimum for health. This isn't about weight management necessarily, okay? This is not about weight management. 75 minutes per week of vigorous activity, okay? And incorporating muscle strengthening 2 or more days per week. So I like to really shoot small to get people to kind of feel okay that you don't have to go 5 days a week for an hour and a half when you first start an exercise routine. Start small, and this is a great way to look at this, is that if you can get 15, 20, 30 minutes in a day, walking your dog or something like that, that's a great start to kind of begin on that healthy route. Any questions about this? Okay. Growth and repair, we talked about my son. In general, the aspects of fever and that you tend to, your energy needs increase if you are sick or you have cancer or other medical issues, your energy needs will increase. And then eating, skipping breakfast in itself oftentimes can decrease your metabolic rate, your overall energy needs by 15%. Breakfast is the most important meal in my book to get in. And the great way to start is whether you're hungry or not, eat. Because you can start that whole process and get your body in that rhythm. So, I might tell someone to start eating an apple in the morning or a banana, something to get that habit going. Okay. And 3 meals minimum per day. Okay. So this is healthy eating in my book, which is, have y'all heard of a kind of a plate method before? Okay. Plenty of vegetables. They're recommending between 5 and 10 per day. A quarter of your plate grains, or a little bit more if you're a man, or oftentimes if you're more active, and then about 3 to 4 ounces of protein. The research is showing that you don't metabolize more than about 30 to 40 grams per meal efficiently. So eating 80 grams or 90 grams or 100 grams per meal is not going to be very effective in terms of building and growing muscle. If you're an athlete, that's a little bit different. There's some different recommendations with that, but I think protein gets overemphasized, especially with the low carb, high protein diets. Okay. And then you got fruit and milk on the side.
Are you saying 30 grams of protein in a meal or a day?
Per meal. And it doesn't have to be just from meat, because milk has protein, bread has protein in it, vegetables have a little protein. So you don't have to have a 10-ounce steak per meal, and actually that's not very effective to have nothing in the morning, 2 ounces on a salad when you go out to eat, and then a 10-ounce steak at night. Your body doesn't work as well with that protein as if you spread it out throughout the day.
How important is the milk?
Huge. What do you think? What have you heard?
I've heard different things.
Well, you have the people that feel like milk is bad for you, or the hormones in it, or causes weight gain. I can't tell you how many things I hear, but it's a great source of calcium. And it also has about 8 grams of protein, so to me it has a great source of protein. I'm not a milk drinker per se, but yogurt's another alternative, and then cheeses fall in that as well. But for women, at least 3 servings a day, and kids 4 of a calcium source. So thinking of getting milk in at some aspect per meal, either some cheese on the salad or some milk at breakfast time, and then yogurt for dessert after dinner is a great way to kind of get that in. Okay. What are you hearing about milk?
It causes inflammation, causes you to gain weight. I love milk.
Okay.
I have a son who drinks milk all the time, and I think he needs to drink less.
Less?
Cut it out, but
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I've had people come to me and they're like, I drink milk. I'm like, okay, well, how much do you drink? Well, about a couple cups a day. I'm like, so how many gallons do you drink in a week? 2 to 3. I'm like, oh, no. You're drinking a lot more than that. So, it's everything in moderation. One thing doesn't cause inflammation. You got to look. It's kind of like looking at the tree when you got to look at the forest. There's so much more to that picture. In my opinion, it's about looking at, instead of one item to reduce, it's what are the few things, maybe reducing my stress levels and eating more balanced, are things that can also help in the same aspects. So, yes.
Is almond milk, the unsweetened version, an acceptable substitute
There's no protein,
in almond milk?
minimal. Deal a lot with eating disorders. Yeah.
It's a lot of calcium.
Huh? It does, it added. It's not natural.
Okay.
So there's been some studies as well that getting 3 high sources of calcium per day can actually help reduce the fat around the waist. I don't know if you've heard that Yoplait commercial.
I do the yogurt and cheese anyhow. I mean,
Okay.
I know I get plenty of it, but I was just
But what I was kind of pointing towards with that is that the research shows that added, like non-natural calcium, is not as effective with that. And I don't think necessarily with bone health, I'm not sure. But, the natural aspects of food, we don't know all, we know a little bit about it, but there's so much we don't know about food and what's in there. So to take supplements like almond milk that have it added in there, that's, isn't a good alternative.
or soy milk. What about
It has more protein, yeah. Yes.
What about the DHA? Because I've been fortunate enough to know about DHA for the organic from my garden.
That's good for brain health. Sure, I mean, it's a great added source to it, instead of taking a pill, or it's fine. So, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm allergic and my son is autistic, so he has to do a gluten-free diet.
Yeah.
What are reasonable substitutes as far as the calcium part?
Probably focusing on the leafy green vegetables, and there's some other sources of them. These are some good impact sources. So if you don't have an allergy towards it, I would encourage milk, but there's some added calcium products like orange juice and things like that you can use. So, yeah. Okay. How much time do I have till? Do I have an hour? Okay. Okay. So healthy eating is moderation. What does that mean? It's a hard word to, what does moderation mean? Diets promote black and white thinking. What does black and white thinking give us? Why do we think of black and white? It gives us confidence. If we don't eat it, we're doing good. If we eat some, then we're doing bad. So I'm not going to eat it, so I feel good. So you got to see the gray in things. And that's the hard part about moderation, is that moderation is going to be very different for each person. I can't tell you what that means for you, but I can tell you that desserts, I think normal eaters eat dessert twice a day. It's a portion, moderate portion of it. Red meat. You know, have chicken one day, have fish one day, have red meat one day, have a vegetarian meal one day. You know, that to me is moderation, but someone else may feel like it's having red meat twice a week because they love red meat. But moderation allows you to have flexibility and feel more comfortable and have a healthier relationship with food than deleting and eliminating a food because it's bad for you. And we'll talk more about that. Variety is another big thing. You know, especially in our lifestyles, we tend to